We are live. Okay, welcome everybody. This is our, what is it, the third week of September, fourth week of September. I can't remember how many calls we've done now, but it's our first call in 2 weeks. I'm super excited about today's topic. Today's topic is going to be super fun. Every week I kind of plan the outline for the call literally probably within like the last 90 minutes before call start time. And this one feels like I've been ready for this one for like 2 weeks, and I'm super excited about what we're diving into. So today could most literally be the funnest, best, most expanding call ever. So I'm pumped. So before we start it, I'm gonna welcome our new members. If you're on the call, feel free to wave and say hi. So Megan, Sean, Martin, Shira, Tony, Jessica, Kira, if you guys are kicking around, welcome to the collective. We're happy to have you here. So today, what we are exploring, or we're kind of exploring two things, but this kind of under one umbrella. And what we're going to do really is we're going to review the entire framework of how reality works. More specifically, how reality works, but we're also going to look at where money fits into the context of reality and how it impacts this whole manifestation thing. So we're going to look at money. We're going to look at, again, vibration and alignment, because no matter how much we talk about vibrational and alignment, there's still questions about the difference between the two. So hopefully we're going to provide so much clarity on vibration and alignment that you guys are never going to have any questions ever again on that topic. Just kidding. We can hash it out as long as you guys keep wanting to hash it out. But anyways, we're going to dive into that. And we're going to have a lot of fun. So anybody have any questions before we dive in? No. Okay, so I don't see any questions. So we're going to dive in. And as usual, if you have any questions as we move along, I'll try to keep an eye on the chat window, use the little hand icon, wave, yell, you guys know the drill. So the very first thing that I want to say is that if you want to change how you experience reality, you need to change how you perceive it. And my intent for this call is to give you guys the awareness that you need to go from being what I'm going to call an amateur manifester to shifting to what I'm going to call a professional, high level, holy shit, what the hell is that person doing to live such an incredible life, manifestation level. And in order to shift from the first paradigm to the second, we're going to kind of redefine a few things. And the first thing I want to help you guys redefine is how you perceive your reality. So the word manifestation, the concept of manifestation, I want you guys to take the notion of manifestation and essentially throw it out the window. Because you're not manifesting. What we're learning to do isn't learning to manifest. You're not trying to bring things into a reality that's separate from you, okay? Everything is you. The chair that you're sitting in is you. The screen that you're looking at is you. The voice that you're hearing coming through the speakers, it's you. It's all you. Everything is you. And I know a lot of you guys have heard that, in spiritual concepts, but I really want you guys to drop into that knowingness and really embody the fact that all of physical reality is you. And knowing that all of physical reality is you, it's about shifting out of the notion of I am manifesting. And to me, manifesting means bringing something into a reality that already exists. And shift that to the notion of you are creating. So we are no longer manifesting, we are creating. And the way to perceive the creating process is look at physical reality as if it's a giant canvas. Your physical reality is a canvas, and you paint onto that canvas via your frequency. So physical reality is the canvas that is the realization of your frequency. And if you know anything about painting, you can take a canvas that already has a complete painting on it, and you can completely paint over it, completely paint something else, right? You can take some white paint and you can repaint over the whole thing, and you can change a lion to an owl if you wanted to, right? So start looking at reality as not something that's separate. It is your canvas that you are painting through your frequency. Does that make sense? Okay. And just as a reminder, your frequency is defined by how you feel, what you believe, where you're pointing your focus. Okay. Now, concept number 2, the mechanism of synchronicity. This is something that doesn't get enough attention. It's not discussed enough. It's not in your conscious awareness enough. You guys need to start giving a gazillion% more attention to the notion of the mechanism of synchronicity. So the mechanism of synchronicity is the artist that fills your canvas for you. Okay? The human you is not what makes manifestation happen. You are not the one responsible for what manifests. You are not the one that's responsible for the actual painting of the canvas. Your mechanism of synchronicity is what paints the canvas, right? You are not the painter of the canvas. You experience the canvas, but you don't paint it. Okay? Your inner being, source, the mechanism of synchronicity, that's what does the painting. You're the visionary of the painting. You're the visionary of what goes on the canvas. And the mechanism of synchronicity is attempting to paint your vision onto that canvas. How do you tell the mechanism of synchronicity what your vision is? Anybody want to guess? Type it in the chat window. What's the mechanism of synchronicity translating onto your canvas? Vibration. Right on, Paula. Awesome, good answers. You guys have it all right. High five, you guys are doing good. Now, what I see people doing is we are not relying on the mechanism of synchronicity to fill the canvas. We're trying to do it ourselves through effort. We're trying to pull the paintbrush out of the artist's hand, and we're trying to paint it ourselves. Or we're grabbing their arm and we're saying, no, go this way. This is what you need to do. This is what it needs to look like. And the more you try to control the paintbrush, the harder it is for the mechanism of synchronicity to take what you're envisioning and put it on the canvas. And if you give full control over to that artist, to the mechanism of synchronicity, it is going to paint something as good or better it always will. But because we don't, I don't like the word trust, because we don't allow ourselves to rely on the mechanism of synchronicity, right? We're trying to paint the canvas ourselves. Shayna's saying, please say that again. I'm not sure what I just said or which part you want me to say again. Um, so essentially, there's you, the visionary. There's you who knows what you want your reality to look like. There's the canvas, which is your reality. Between you and your vision and the canvas is the mechanism of synchronicity. Source, your inner being, that's the person that's responsible for taking your vision and painting it. But in you not trusting this guy, you're trying to paint it yourself. And by trying to paint it yourself, by efforting into trying to paint it, you're getting in this guy's way. You're taking it in the paintbrush out of the mechanism of synchronicity's hand, right? And the mechanism of synchronicity can't fill your canvas in with what you want. Make sense? Does that answer your question, Shayna? Is that what you wanted me to repeat? And I can't see Shayna. So, mechanism of synchronicity is our inner being source guide. Yes. So, it's the non-physical. You can label it your inner being. I don't know what actually triggers that mechanism of synchronicity. But what I do know is we need to rely on it. So if there's one thing, if you sleep through this entire call and there's only one part that sinks into your brain, if you only take one thing away from this call, and I can't stress this enough, the difference between the amateur manifester, which is where most people are at, and the high-level professional manifester is your ability to get the fuck out of the way and let the mechanism of synchronicity do its work. Period. When I look at all of my big manifestations, and the recent example is the car manifestation, right? Where there was a 6-month wait, it showed up in 3 weeks, plus the 18,000 down payment showed up like this, synchronistically at the exact same time. I did nothing to make that happen. I wasn't trying to make the manifestation show up. There was no desperation that I needed the car now. I was just playing, getting in the frequency by looking at pictures on Instagram, right? Following a few inspiring nudges here and there to text some websites. That's it. Mechanism of synchronicity did all the work. So again, the biggest takeaway I want you guys to take away from this call is I need to rely on the mechanism of synchronicity. Now, a lot of people fall under this notion of I need to learn to trust the universe, or I don't trust the universe, or trust this, or trust that. I don't want to tell you guys to trust. I don't like the notion of needing to trust. I don't know why. I know it feels like the need to trust. And the mental shift around that, at least for me, is that trusting the universe to me feels very different than relying on the mechanism of synchronicity. Right? And you may need to remind yourself every day, 5 times a day, 500 times a day, synchronicity has this covered. The mechanism of synchronicity is taking care of this as long as I'm matching the frequency, which is the truth. If you match the frequency, you have to experience it, period. And what makes you experience it is that mechanism of synchronicity. Make sense? And oftentimes when people talk about trust, the only way you can develop trust is through experience, period. I can tell you guys 100 different stories of synchronicities where people showed up or where things showed up. But until you experience it enough for yourself, that's the only way trust ever builds. So take the notion of trust and put it away, right? You're no longer needing to trust, you're relying on the mechanism of synchronicity. Make sense? So Casey's asking, what's your definition of synchronicity? And I really like that question. So the mainstream definition of synchronicity, or what most people perceive as synchronicity, is something really cool, a really cool coincidence that makes something happen that's kind of unexpected. So Anik and I having left our marriages on the same day before we ever met, that's a synchronicity, right? Now, the mistake people are making when it comes to the notion of synchronicity is that synchronicity are only things that seem really crazy out there, like really like far-fetched or unexpected or like very magical. But, and we're going to get into how to strengthen the synchronicity muscle in a bit. But what I want to say about synchronicity is not all synchronicity has to be like super magical. So anything that feels like a stepping stone to another place, that's a synchronicity, right? Even if something is kind of expected, it's still a synchronicity. And we're going to get to more about synchronicity in like literally the next page. Actually, let me double check. Yeah, okay, so let's talk about synchronicity. So I'm going to load up the diagram that I shared earlier this week. Before we get to that, any questions? I'm just going to scroll through the chat window. I see Zanab, you've got your hand up. I see Kim, you've got your hand up. Go ahead first, Zanab, and then we'll look at you, Kim. Hey, Zanab, what's shaking?
Yeah, hi, Nick. I'm very happy with this topic because I have been practicing it like last week.
Good.
So, yeah,
Nice.
I was going through a contrast and I just decided I'm creating my reality. It's not about manifestation, it's about creation.
Nice synchronicity.
Yes, yeah, I like it.
Right.
And just now, I just was coming, and I was thinking, okay, I'm now deciding like anything that is not working with me now, I will put it in a box, and I will put it aside, and I will just allow it to be figured out by my inner being. I was just gonna to allow it to be figured out. I will put it in the box. It's like a box to put everything that I feel I need to fix. So I'm just going to put it in this box and I will allow it to be fixed.
Awesome, yes. And don't forget, that's part of the process. The other part of the process is tuning into the frequency of where you want to be, right? Getting clear on what you want and putting your focus on that. And we're going to get that we're going to get into that in a second with the diagram that I'm going to show in a minute.
Okay. Yeah.
And that box is also what I consider your avatar, right?
Yeah.
When you put it in the box, you're handing it off to your avatar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. So now I'm enjoying the feeling of creation, even in the simple things. Like I'm creating now. I'm in this room. I'm talking. This is my creation. So I feel my creation.
Awesome.
It's not something just waiting for tomorrow, or it's just now.
Awesome. And a lot of people on this call, you guys might be thinking, well, you know, manifesting, creating, it's kind of the same thing, right? But those little semantics often make a big vibrational difference, right? So take a step back from manifesting, which is bringing something into an existing reality, versus creation, where I create all of it. I'm responsible for all of it. And what I'm experiencing right now is the canvas I've created with my frequency over the last, whatever the gestation period is. Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Zanab.
Thank you, Nick.
Hey, Kim.
Hey there. I want to know if this is an example of synchronicity, a small one. So I was sitting on the beach the other day and I had this thought come in about really making this the year that I become bilingual, that I really learn French, and I've studied and so on at various times in my life. I've had this thought at various other times in my life. And as I walk up the street here in Toronto, there are little free libraries. They're like little mini houses on posts. You can open it up and there's just free books in there. Yep. And as I open it up, there's a verb translation book for French. And I thought, I actually do have this at home, or a similar one. I'm not quite sure, but I thought I'm just going to grab it. But to me, I was like, I bet you this is a sign from my inner being going, yes, you should follow through and do something about that.
Absolutely. Total synchronicity.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
those synchronicities are happening all the time on all topics. And oftentimes we don't even consciously interpret something as a synchronicity, right? We don't always notice. We notice the things that are like, so the story you just told is what I would call like an obvious synchronicity, right?
Yeah.
Or Anik and I leaving our marriage on the same day and having the same similar names. That's an obvious synchronicity because it's kind of like, it's a big synchronicity, right? But we also throughout the day experience tons of tiny little synchronicities that we don't really notice or recognize as a synchronicity. And that's part of how to build the synchronicity muscle, is to notice more of it. Because by noticing more of it, we're going to practice the vibration of synchronicities, which is then going to result in us experiencing more of them.
Oh, that's a good tip. So it's not just those obvious ones, there's lots of them.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'm going to show the diagram. Thanks for sharing, Kim.
Thanks.
Okay, so photos. All right, you guys see this triangle diagram? So this is kind of the most simplistic form of how creation occurs. It's what I call the desire realization triangle. I don't know, it's kind of a weird name, but that's kind of what it is. So there's really kind of three major components. The first on top is what we've been synchronistically talking about, the mechanism of synchronicity. And the way you activate more of that mechanism of synchronicity is by, as your day unfolds, noticing and acknowledging as much synchronicity as you possibly can. So here's an example. So right now on the top of my manifestation list is a second home in another city 2 hours away. And I don't want to have to manage 2 houses. So I want a condo downtown where it's within walking distance to everything, where there's an underground garage, where it's super easy. And the only condo building downtown only has 2 bedrooms and I need 4 bedrooms. So my vision is to purchase 2 side-by-side condos and merge them together into one super condo. And what I've been doing as part of my manifestation process for this is, once a week, maybe twice a week, maybe twice every 10 days, I'll go into the realty website and I'll just browse through all the different houses in that area just for fun, not with the intent to go buy something, just to kind of get in the energy of what's possible. And then earlier this week I logged in, and one of the units in that condo building has been for sale, listed since June, but there hasn't been any pictures. And I logged in this week and there was pictures. I was like, oh, there's a synchronicity. There's a breadcrumb that's leading me closer to what I want. And then I started browsing through the website some more and I noticed, oh, there's a second unit available in that building. There's another synchronicity. So now there's 2 units in that building. They're not side by side yet, but they're kind of, reality is showing me this painting. The painting is changing and it's morphing closer and closer into what I want it to be. And every time I notice it morphing closer to what I want it to be, I'm acknowledging that as a synchronicity, right? So that's the game that I'm playing. So throughout the day, anytime I notice something that feels like it's even a fraction of a step closer to the reality that I'm working on painting on my canvas, I notice it as a synchronicity. And I'm also acknowledging that a synchronicity is more movement to the painting I'm trying to paint, more movement into the reality I want to experience. Does that make sense? I'm going to just disable this picture for a second. So before we move on to the next dot in the triangle, does anybody have any questions about this mechanism of synchronicity? I'm just scrolling through the chat. Yeah, go ahead, Aman.
Hey, Nick.
Hey.
I'm really enjoying what you're saying, and it's connecting really deeply because it it actually makes sense if you look at even religions and all the spiritual teachers. Like, that's what they say: ask for something and then just let go and trust and have faith. And that's the same message that's been every new religion is harped on. You know, have faith, like trust it. So it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and this is part of why earlier in the week I posted that Elon clip. I don't know if how many of you guys watched that Elon clip, but this is a lot of what Elon is saying too, right? About reality being the projection.
Yeah, I just have one question. So, like, how does it look? So tomorrow morning I'm going to wake up and I try and get in a high vibe, and I listen to a couple of the morning meditations right before I wake up, and I fall into my daily reality. But if I am creating everything and I need to raise my vibration and paint over my current life with my vibration, with my vision, with what I want.
So we're going to come back to the diagram, and the diagram I think is going to answer the diagram. The triangle is going to give us a high level view of all the three core pieces. And then once we go through those core pieces, I think that's going to answer your question. And if it doesn't, then we'll dig in deeper.
Okay.
Because you're looking at how do I make this practical, right?
Yeah, how can I use it tomorrow morning? Yeah.
Yeah,
right
and
when I wake up.
this is what we're going to do with the triangle. So we'll go through the triangle and then we'll come back to that question if it's not answered.
Okay.
Perfect. Does anybody else have anything about the mechanism of synchronicity they wanted to ask? Okay, so Kimberly, you're saying you're confused. Didn't he just say don't trust? It's synchronicity and not trusting. So again, these are semantics. The notion of needing to trust is the notion that something else is in control. Somebody else is in control. Somebody else is doing the work. But that's not the case. You're doing the work. You're providing the vision. Synchronicity is taking your vision and translating it into reality. So it's not about trusting, it's about relying on that mechanism. And when we do not rely on that mechanism, when we try to grab the steering wheel for ourselves, we don't allow the mechanism of synchronicity to do what it needs to do. We're putting the mechanism of synchronicity on the bench because we're telling our inner being, we're telling source, we're telling the non-physical, I'm taking care of it. I'm doing it. I got this. Have you guys ever noticed that whenever you're doing a reading with a really good medium, that you can't really ask the question, guides, what do you want me to know? That you literally have to ask the questions and they need to answer them, right? That's because from a free will standpoint, it's like there's like an unwritten rule that they're not allowed to step in unless you ask them to step in. Your reality is up to you, and they can only step in when you're allowing them to step in ways that you allow them to step in. So when you're setting the intent of, I'm taking care of this, I need to do it, I need to effort, you're essentially telling the mechanism of synchronicity to buzz off. Does that make sense? Any more questions about this? Because I really want you guys to fully understand all three elements of this triangle. Just clicking through. I don't see any more hands up. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Oh, I hear somebody. Hello?
It's Angelique. Do you hear
Hey,
me?
how you doing?
Hi, I do have a question.
Yeah.
So, you know, when I think of synchronicity, you can have all these little things that are really joyful and, you know, magical. And sometimes they're more like signs, like, you know, you're on the right path, as you said, a breadcrumb. But then you also have synchronicities that are almost like, go and turn this corner, and then you do it, and then you find the perfect location for your event, or, you know, so would you say that it doesn't matter whether it's a small one that actually shows you that you're on the path, you're on a vibrational match? So for instance, if I keep on seeing happily married couples on my timeline and on my Instagram, to me that is like I'm a vibrational match, right?
Yeah.
but I'm still not married. But so what would you consider, do not effort, because sometimes it actually does require me to do something like turn left and go into this direction which I would normally never go. And I follow my body and I manifest lots of things. Literally, I listen to my body. I
Yeah.
don't listen to my mind ever. So for me, synchronicity is really listening to my intuition or whatever you call it and bypassing the mind. And
Okay.
because my body somehow pulls me into certain like weird situations and then I manifest things. So I'm just trying to calibrate, is there,
So
yeah.
one thing to keep in mind is if your body is telling you to turn left because there's something there that you want to manifest, it means
I
that
don't know that. I don't know that. I just do it because I feel it feels like I'm pulled. So, and I have that all the time. Literally, like all the time.
yeah. So whatever you're being pulled to, even if you decide not to listen to that nudge, as long as you continue to be a vibrational match to that end experience that it's pulling you to, you can't miss the boat. So it's going to keep coming up as long as you're a vibrational match to it. So a lot of people have this notion of, oh, this is my one chance and I can't screw this up. But what they fail to realize is that as long as you're a vibrational match to the end result, you have to experience it. So then even if you miss the first nudge or don't listen to the first nudge, then there's going to be another one and another one and another one, or it's just going to end up happening regardless of the nudge, right?
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. So, and would you consider like, because I also sometimes get really bizarre dreams, like prophetic ones or things that are really like, they're very weird and they are very much related to becoming a vibrational match. So it's not happening in outer reality yet, but it's happening in, in the dream world. So would you say that they are also important or?
Yeah, I think so I consider dreams to be subconscious communication. Um, and
Yeah.
if you go into the depths of the framework of reality, we're visiting parallel universes and all this stuff. But I think like really everything's a synchronicity. Every single thing we experience is a synchronicity, right? Because everything is manifestation. Um, it's our conscious mind that chooses to define something as a synchronicity or not, right? So me stubbing my toe, that's a synchronicity. Everything is a synchronicity and everything is a vibrational match.
Yeah, I understand that. When I was studying synchronicity in terms of quantum physics and what the Jungians would say, and all the people that were trying to understand how does the subconscious mind affect matter, they were always saying that a synchronicity is something that you could not have created logically. There's no causal effect. They say it's an acausal effect, but they're looking at matter to matter, causing an effect as I'm touching a button, I'm kicking a ball, but they're not looking at the law of vibration and the law of attraction as a mechanism.
Yeah,
So
I would say from a human standpoint, the way we acknowledge something as synchronicity is something that has happened outside of what we believe is us,
yeah,
right? So, me going onto the website and seeing 2 condos for sale when previously there was just one, I perceive that as outside of me. So I perceive that as a synchronicity. So I think from a human rational logical mind, I think that's how we personally define synchronicity. But the way I like to perceive all of this is me, I am everything. So yes, from this physical vantage point, my awareness of me is my physical body. So if I want to pick up a pen, I can reach over and I can pick up a pen because I have control of my physical body, right? But everything is an extension of me. So a condo going up for sale is no different than me reaching over and pulling up a pen. The difference is because it's in my physical range and I can do that physically, I can just do it. But having a condo go up for sale that I want to buy, it's still an extension of me that's creating that physical reality circumstance.
I get it. I get it. You know, Abraham is also saying that we get offered blocks of thought. And I really do believe that, because I completely I'm so tuned into these blocks of thought. And, you know, sometimes, you know, as Abraham says, it doesn't make sense. Like Esther having to move the furniture and all of that stuff.
Totally.
And things being very indirect. She has said that as well. You know, sometimes source gives you information that's very indirect, so it doesn't seem as like, huh, what does this have to do with what I want to paint? But it might still lead to it. So yeah, maybe some guidance as to your, you know, because I think the way that I understand blocks of thought from Abraham, because I was in the Amsterdam workshop, they were saying it will feel exciting, it will feel like something you want to do, it will feel like something that will be easy. There's not a lot of resistance. So when source gives you blocks of thought, it's always going to be easy, it's going to be, you know, like joyful or whatever it is.
Blocks of thought are manifestation, just like manifesting a pen or money. The key thing is learning to recognize the difference between a manifested thought and a created thought. So if I'm sitting here and I'm trying to solve a problem, then the solutions I'm coming up with, because I'm in the energy of that problem, are probably created thoughts. But if I'm standing in the shower washing my hair, or I'm driving down the road and I'm noticing all the beautiful leaves, the beautiful fall leaves along the highway, and all of a sudden a business idea comes in,
Yeah.
I know that that's a manifested thought. So for me, the big differentiator of what I understand or when I recognize a thought being a manifested thought is when it comes out of the blue and it's kind of irrelevant to my current train of thought, or when the thought comes in and it's like really exciting and passionate and it feels really good.
No, you're absolutely right. It never comes when you're trying to wrestle it to the ground. It never, ever, ever, it has never come that way. Never.
Yeah. And that's the difference. And that's the big thing between being in the energy of the problem versus the energy of the solution, and why it's so important to try to stay out of trying to solve your problems. Because when you're not trying to solve the problems, then you're open to receiving those manifestations, those downloads, which are the best solutions to those problems.
Yeah, and I think the habit of worrying is a human conditioning, as Abe would say, and that is one of the things that we need to practice. You know, we need to condition ourselves out of. No, I'm getting much more clarity around how we can stay open, almost we can stay open to these inspirational thoughts or blocks of thought when we are actually enjoying ourselves, when we're doing something completely different, when we're not trying to mastermind, brainstorm, blah blah blah,
Totally.
this issue. Yeah.
Totally. And the other thing this discussion brings up, and this concept hasn't fully matured in my head yet, so take this one as a grain of salt and reflect on it. But a lot of people believe that source is creating synchronicities to guide us in a certain direction. And I'm starting to believe that source does not do that. I believe that source tries to give us direction into where to go or what to do. And here's an example. So a friend contacted me and they said, you know, they just bought a house, they're about to move in, now they found all these problems with their house, and they're noticing these synchronicities, and they think the synchronicities are telling them not to move into the house. And in reality, both realities exist. And the advice that I gave this person is I said, you can move into the house, and this house can be the magical, beautiful, easy experience you want it to be. You can move into the house, and it could be a living hell. Both of those possibilities exist. Both of those possibilities will always exist. And your vibration will define the outcome that you experience. I don't believe source would say, no, don't buy this house, or do buy that house. And that goes for everything. I don't think source has a judgment of good or bad, right or wrong, what you should do, what you shouldn't do.
I understand that, Nick, but because I'm in the Dr. Joe Dispenza advanced students group, what I do see there is a lot of people, they make mind movies. Let's say they make mind movies like vision boards. You know, we have to do meditations where we walk around in, let's say, the new house or the new job. And
Yep.
very often these people then get guided, like out of the blue, they get guided to drive somewhere and they find that perfect house. Like that
Yep.
house wasn't even on sale.
So
but
what,
for me, that is something else.
what
Yeah.
those processes are doing is
Yeah.
they're creating embodiment. Those are embodiment processes which help them become a vibrational match to those desires. And my belief is as long as they maintain that vibrational match, those desires are going to show up regardless of whether they follow that intuitive nudge or not.
Okay.
But they are like, they're doing the right thing by following that path, because following those nudges, those are most likely nudges of excitement, right? They're getting excited about something. So I would call that the unfolding of synchronicity rather than inner beings guiding them to a desire. And again, I don't want you guys to get wrapped up in this stuff because it's semantics and it doesn't matter a whole lot anyways. But that's how I perceive it. Does that make sense?
No, it makes sense. Thank you.
And this goes, this is a little bit different than what everybody's talking about. Oh, I'm getting these numbers and they're telling me I'm on my way, and is spirit telling me to take this job or not take this job? It's like, that's such a disempowering place to be when you're thinking that you need to listen to the guidance of source or you're going to get it wrong. And really none of that matters once you really understand frequency and matching vibrational frequencies of things.
Would it help to say actually that, the way that Abraham talks about source is that we are source, that we are part of that intelligence, and that any guidance we get is from our own inner being, which is us, which is actually who we are, but we just don't identify with it. We are more identified with the human limited ego.
Yeah, we're an extension of source energy, and we feel like we're disconnected from source, but we're really just an extension of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly what you said.
I'll shut up now.
No, it's good. This is really good. Like, this is really fun, amazing stuff to talk about. And this is a lot of the stuff that everybody needs to hear. A lot of people are in a disempowered state because of how they interpret the difference between them and source and their disconnection from source. And once you realize some of this stuff, it changes how you experience reality. But I'm going to get moving because I could talk about this stuff all day, and I want to finish off this triangle. Thanks for sharing. Where's this diagram again? Okay, so we've looked at mechanism of synchronicity. We've dived into it in like a lot of detail. The only thing, don't get too caught up in everything we just talked about. The only real important thing to know is that you want to work on relying on that mechanism. Okay, you want to let the mechanism of synchronicity do its thing and take care of what needs to happen to allow those things that you want to show up. Okay, now the second triangle, or the second node, we'll call it, bottom right is what we'll call embodiment and vibrational match. We've talked about embodiment and being a vibrational match a lot. And really the best way to explain vibrational match is that AM/FM radio concept. So you are going to experience the reality that represents the frequency you're putting out. The frequency you're putting out is what defines what shows up on your canvas of reality and what that artist is painting, right? So frequency is very, very simple, right? If I'm channel 5, I experience what channel 5 offers. If I'm at channel 7, I experience what channel 7 offers. No matter what, if you're on the channel of it, you have to experience it. The difference is, as humans, it's not AM/FM numbers, it's not radio stations, it's the emotions, the perspectives, and where you're putting your focus and your beliefs. Make sense? Does anybody have any questions left about frequency? Everybody understands frequency. Looking through. Okay, as far as I can tell, everybody is good on frequency. How do we know what frequency we're on? Cody's asking. Essentially by how you feel. So if I feel like I'm stuck, then I'm at the frequency of stuckness, right? And the more you practice an emotion, then the more solid you are, the more you're practicing that frequency, right? So if you spend 1% of your day in stuckness and 99% of your day in freedom, then odds are your reality is going to be a reality that's filled with freedom, right? Okay, so back to the diagram. Now, the third and final node, and this is the one that gets the most amount of attention in the world of law of attraction, of course, is alignment. And of course, alignment is the connectivity between you and your inner being. It's what allows the mechanisms of synchronicity to work in your favor. It's what connects you to your inner being. It's what makes you whole. The biggest thing to understand about alignment, and we haven't talked about this a whole lot in our calls, I don't even know if it's ever been mentioned, is alignment puts you in the receiving mode. And what the receiving mode is, it's about understanding that you want to have a balance of energy out versus energy in. And this is the biggest struggle that I have to work on for myself, is that I have a hard time getting in the receiving mode. And the reason I have a hard time getting in the receiving mode is because I love doing, right? I love taking action. I love making things happen. But when you're in doing mode, when you're in efforting mode, when you're in taking action mode, when you're in trying to figure it out mode, that's all energy out. That's the opposite of receiving mode, right? And the example we talked about a minute ago about downloading those manifested thoughts, those solution thoughts, that can't happen if you're not in the receiving mode. So when I'm sitting here and I'm trying to figure out the answer to a math problem, and I'm spending hours, what's the answer? What's the answer? What's the answer? I'm in energy out mode, right? I'm not in the receiving mode. But when I'm taking a shower, when I'm driving along the highway, when I'm looking at the beautiful trees, and I'm not thinking about the math problem and the answer comes in, that's because I'm in the receiving mode, because I'm in the process of receiving the beauty, of noticing the beauty. Has anybody ever noticed that whenever you go on vacation and then you come back, or even while on vacation, a whole bunch of stuff seems to manifest? Has anybody noticed that? This is an effect that a lot of people on the Abraham Hicks cruises talk about. A lot of them even go to the Abe cruises. They don't even go to the seminars. They just go knowing that when they get back, a whole bunch of stuff always seems to manifest. And the reason for that is when you're on vacation, and I call it being on vacation mode, you're disconnected. All the work is at home, the email's at home, you're not busy answering anybody. You're just busy chilling on the beach, sipping on martinis, drinking mojitos, you're chilling out. You're busy absorbing what your reality around you is showing you and appreciating this new environment. That's the receiving mode. So take a minute and ask yourself, how much time during my day am I spending in the receiving mode? How much time am I in energetic output versus energetic input? And the states of being that are congruent to the receiving mode are satisfaction, appreciation, happiness, relief. That's where you want to be. Yeah, go ahead, Kim. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Hang on, you're still muted. Go ahead and unmute it. Oh, you're still muted. There
Can you
you
hear
go.
me now?
Now you're good. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. So about the action, if I understand it correctly, it's okay to get into action once we have gotten to alignment, once we've allowed, then that's action time.
You take action if it feels good and it's fun and it's exciting. You're
Yeah.
not taking action to try to accomplish.
Okay. Part of the feeling good is accomplishing something, that doing, ticking off your list.
And so here's the thing. So if you're doing it for the enjoyment of the doing it and the way the doing makes you feel, then you're okay. But if it's like an efforting feeling of trying to achieve and being attached to an outcome, there's a good chance that that's effort.
Or if you're doing it to try to get to the rest because you can tick a bunch of stuff off your list.
When you're doing that, you're telling this mechanism of synchronicity to step aside.
Right. Wait till later, got all the work done, then I can.
Yeah, and there's a balance there. So for me, like when I manifested the car, I was going on Instagram for 10, 15 minutes a night, looking at the hashtag of the car, being like, oh, I love this color, I love these rims, I would totally do this. But I wasn't doing it from the energy of trying to make anything happen. I was doing it, I wasn't even thinking about the car. I didn't even think the car was going to show up. Right? I was just playing on Instagram. Right? And that's the embodiment step. But being in that place of not needing to make something happen allows that mechanism of synchronicity to kind of activate.
I think it's tough for those of us who love to do.
I hear you.
It feels good, right? So I'm like, well, this feels good.
I hear you. 2 weeks ago, Spirit told me I was only 5% of the receiving mode. And then this last week, I've shifted it closer to 50%, which is good. But they want me like 85, 90% in the receiving mode. And that's probably where they want everybody.
Right. Okay, cool. I think I'm clear.
Yeah. And it's about finding the balance between these 3 points on the triangle.
Right.
Right? It's about relying on that mechanism of synchronicity. It's about getting into the receiving mode where you're letting things show up. And that's what I notice a lot of coaches are doing. So a lot of coaches who come to me because they struggle to attract clients is because they're spending like 12 hours a day mentally trying to figure out, how do I make the clients show up? What do I do to make the clients show up? And that keeps them out of the receiving mode. Right?
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yep. Thanks.
Good, thanks. So if we go back to this triangle, oh, I see Zanab, you got your hand up. Go ahead, Zanab. Do you know how to unmute yourself, or do you need me to unmute you?
Yeah.
Hey, you're good.
Yeah, just here also because I'm also like doing. I start to practice that even while I'm doing, I'm doing it with the mentality of enjoyment. So it's like I'm creating my feelings. So even if I'm going for a meeting, or I'm going to work, or I'm painting, they are all the same. Or even like cleaning my place, they are all the same because I'm just doing it from the place of enjoyment. And this is how I create my feelings. And by feeling good and feeling enjoyment, I can do also like children. They are just doing all the time. But still, the doing of the children, it's from the fun.
Yeah, you want to take action from a vibrational standpoint. Remember that term, vibrational productivity, right? Mm-hmm. Is this action vibrationally productive? That's the question you guys need to ask yourselves. Vibrational productivity.
I'm going to work now. I'm going to work, and I'm not thinking about what is the result of the work. I'm just going just to go. It's like just to have fun, even if the working is very boring, but I'm creating my feeling towards the work.
Perfect. I love that. Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to look at how money fits into all of this, because money is actually what sparked this entire conversation. And then we're going to get practical and tie it all together for Aman, just for you. Okay. All right, so where does money fit into all this? So let's use a dream home as an example, okay? And this applies to everything, okay? But we're going to use your dream home for example. If you want to manifest your dream home, Here's two beliefs relating to money that block that manifestation. So one, I can't manifest a home until I have the money first. I need to manifest the money to make the home show up. That's blocking belief number one. I need to figure the money out first. And number two, what's happening is by being focused on the money first, you're not practicing the embodiment of the home. You're not allowing yourself to become a vibrational match to the home because your focus is on the money rather than the home. Those are the two big things people are doing. The way to perceive money is like a mirage in the desert. You know, when you see these movies when they think they see water in the distance and then they like crawl their way to the mirage and then they get there and then there's no money, there's no water there, right? Money's kind of the same thing. It's kind of leading you into the wrong direction because if you're a vibrational match to that new home, and money is a necessary component to owning that home, the money needs to show up. It will show up. Because if you're a vibrational match to something, you have to experience it. And if I go back to this car as an example, on the Friday, the dealership said, I needed $18,000 as the down payment to have the payments where I wanted it to be. And by Monday morning, I had exactly $18,000 in signups in my new program. Exactly. The money didn't show up 3 months earlier, or else I would have used it for something else. It didn't show up a day late. It showed up exactly when it needed to. Did I do anything to make myself a vibrational match to the money? I did not. I became a vibrational match to the car, and then all the cooperative components fell in place, including the money. And if freedom is what you're looking for. So a lot of people, they want the money so that they're free from the bills and they can go out for dinner when they want. And you know, it's not just about money to manifest certain things, but it's also money to have a certain amount of relief in your lifestyle, right? That's no different. Instead of practicing the frequency of a desire, practice the frequency of the lifestyle of relief. Practice the frequency of the lifestyle that it looks like if you had that money. So if you want to, let's say you want 10 grand to live a comfortable, stress-free life, how would you live your life if you had that 10 grand? That's what you need to embody. Don't embody the money, embody the lifestyle, and then the cooperative components will fill themselves in once you're a vibrational match to that lifestyle. So we're taking money completely out of the formula. So again, ask yourself, what do I want the money for? And tune into that.
Nick, are you okay if I share some examples of people that I know of that have done this?
Yeah, you've got about 5 minutes.
So basically, I organized the In the Vortex dinner when Abraham came to Amsterdam, and 7 people showed up, but oh my God, the people that showed up were amazing. So basically, one of the women was in love with sports cars, and she had £6,000 to have a car that was £95,000 Maserati. But she basically just stayed in the feeling of, oh my God, I'm going to drive this car and I'm going to find a plan that £6,000 will over time be £95,000. She just felt it. And then and all her friends were making fun of her. They were buying little Maseratis for her. They say, yeah, we see your Maserati, blah, blah, blah. And she just ignored everybody. She ignored reality. And one night, her ex-husband called her and said, I want you to come to the restaurant right now. And she said, why? And he said, you just have to come to the restaurant. And so basically she showed up at the restaurant, and then there was a guy there who was like, you know, some kind of playboy. And the playboy had an affair with a woman. And so his wife started trashing all his cars, all his sports cars. The only sports car that wasn't trashed was the Maserati, and he needed the money. So he said, I need to sell this car. And she said, I only have 6,000 pounds. And he said, sold. So that was the manifestation. And so we were all blown away. We're like, oh my God, I'm going to dream about my dream car. And then another person that showed up.
Okay, hang on. Pause first.
Yeah.
You said a key thing in that statement that I want to embed. You said she ignored reality.
Yes.
And
she
something.
Ignored friends. She ignored that it was only 6,000 pounds.
Anytime a voice kicks in that says you can't have that, you need to ignore it. Because your inner critic, your ego is going to try to pipe in and say that's not possible, you can't have it. And you need to give it the middle finger and tell it to fuck off. Pardon my language.
Yeah.
Okay, go with your second story.
So the second person is a person that actually did a lot of efforting to find a commercial property because she dreamt of having a clinic, and she wanted it in a high vibe location, which was like, the center of a city. And she basically, while she was efforting, she did not find zero. She didn't find any properties that matched up to what she wanted. Suddenly one day, as she had let it go, she was driving around, and suddenly she came across a property, and it said for sale in like this amazing location. It was like behind the Peace Palace in The Hague, which is like a very luxurious location. She got out of the car. She felt pulled out of the car, and then she called the realtor. The realtor came in 5 minutes, and this was like 20 years ago because she's an older woman, and so she was short of like, I think 70,000 euros, which and that time was, I don't know, that was an amazing, huge amount of money, probably like 200,000 euros or something, or dollars. And basically she said, I love this, it was exactly what she wanted. Her clinic, she could see her clinic, but then basically the realtor said, I know that you cannot afford this property, but because because it is on an offer, you're giving an offer, I will have to give it to the owners. And what did the owners say? The owners bought the whole property, but they only wanted the upper parts, and they didn't want the commercial property. They said, just sell it to her. We don't want that part. And I mean, I'm still having goosebumps because that dinner was like, we were just discussing all our best manifestations. And this was like, oh my God, money is not an issue at all. That was really imprinted in my mind.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
So here's your guys' homework for this week. Okay. Ask yourself, what do I want the money for the most? I want you guys to pick one thing. What's your Maserati? Right? Is it a certain amount of relief in the way you live your life and freedom? Is it a house? Is it a Maserati? Is it a relationship? It doesn't have to be a money thing, right? Just pick one thing. And you don't have to pick it now. You can think about it, the rest of the day or tonight. Choose it. So don't hope for this desire to show up. Literally, like, choose it. You're like telling the mechanism of synchronicity, I'm choosing this. This is my Maserati. I'm choosing this Maserati. Okay, so one, choose it. Don't hope for it. Choose it. Tell your artist what to paint. Okay? Once you've chosen it, then you're going to realize it. Realize it means you create it, right? And you're going to do three things. A, you're going to rely on the mechanism of synchronicity. You're not going to do anything to make it happen other than follow intuitive nudges. Second, you're going to embody the doneness and how it feels to live with it, right? You got to embody it's already done. This is how it feels, as if you have it. Live it without the proof of it. And then third, you're going to get in that receiving mode. So your dominant homework is practicing being in that receiving mode. Because the choosing it, that just takes 2 seconds. Right? Telling your artist, this is what I want. And if you haven't pre-paved it, do a pre-paving as part of your choosing. And then you're going to embody the doneness of it. And then you're just simply going to notice those synchronicities and be in the receiving mode. And the receiving mode is probably going to be the most challenging thing for most people. Because that receiving mode is about going for massages, taking naps, being lazy, laying on the beach. If you're relaxed and you're feeling good and satisfied, you'll know you're in the receiving mode. And you can print off that triangle diagram because those are those three components. So Aman, if we come back to you now, I'm going to unmute you. Have we answered your practicality question on what your steps should be?
Partly. I have a question firstly on the belief clearing. Are we doing that on all three parts of the triangle? Are we focusing?
What belief do you feel like you need to clear? And by the way, next week is an office hours call. And what will make the topic of that office hours call is completely belief clearing. So we'll sit down and we'll say, okay, what belief do you think is standing in your way? And we'll start hacking away at them. So right now, do you believe you have a belief in the way?
Yeah, maybe around not doing anything won't bring any results, right? Because like everything we see,
Okay, so you don't.
I see people doing stuff, and then the results coming in.
So you don't believe that the mechanism of synchronicity exists?
I think the vibrational action of the vibrational work is what I don't really have that much belief in or faith.
Okay.
But it's building.
Do you believe that it could exist?
I think I believe like I'm not ready to, I can't fully use that power yet. Like I still, there's something I need to do before
Okay.
like I need to master it or yeah.
So as a mechanism, as a whole, this mechanism of synchronicity, you've seen it work for me. You've heard the Maserati story, right?
Yeah.
So it works for some people. Would you agree to that?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a belief that it works for some people, but it doesn't work for me? Is there a belief it only works sometimes? What's your real perception around the mechanism of synchronicity?
There's something they're doing that I'm not doing. Yeah.
So there's a belief that I don't have it all figured out.
There's a belief, yeah, they know something. I'm missing a piece of knowledge in my journey.
I'm telling you right now, this diagram that I created, everything that I just told you, that's it. This is all of it. And I think what your mind is saying is it can't be that easy.
Yeah, not ready. Can't be that easy, yeah.
Is there an ounce of possibility that it could be that easy?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be exciting to find out if it were that easy?
Absolutely.
And let's say this whole homework that I gave you, we practiced this, I don't know, for like 3 or 4 weeks. Is there anything to lose by trying it for 3 or 4 weeks?
Nope.
And choosing to believe in it for 3 or 4 weeks, would that create any harm?
No.
Okay. So is that belief that this isn't going to work kind of fading away a little bit?
Yeah.
Can you do this for the fun and the enjoyment of the process rather than the fact that it needs to work?
Yeah, I don't think we have a choice after what you've taught us today.
Good. Awesome. So does that kind of, do you feel a bit lighter now? Does this feel easier? Does it feel flowier?
Yeah, it does feel lighter. I'm looking forward to putting it into practice.
Yeah, and we're going to see what comes up for everybody this week, and we're going to hash it out on the office hour calls next week.
Perfect. If you could please put the homework that you're giving us, please put that there.
Good point. Yeah, what I'll do is I'll maybe take the diagram and put it on like a 1-page PDF and then put the homework underneath so it'll be like a printable something or other. So yeah, I'll get that done either today or first thing tomorrow.
Okay. And last quick question. You were saying notice the synchronicities, and in my mind what happened, that made perfect sense again, because we have to be present to notice the synchronicities, and when we're present, then we're stopping all the blocks, all the habits, all the previous emotions.
I would say change it from noticing synchronicities to acknowledging synchronicities. So it's Oh, there's another condo that showed up. Oh, the mechanism of synchronicity made that happen. Oh, the price just went down on that condo. Oh, the mechanism of synchronicity made that happen. Oh, now there's two condos for sale and they're almost on the same floor. Oh, the mechanism of synchronicity made that happen. So like, it's about acknowledging that everything that's
Noting.
happening outside of you is being done by that mechanism of synchronicity.
Okay. Okay.
How does that feel?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I also think you do also have to be a bit more present with the noticing, and it's
Yeah, I would say, but be careful of not looking for them.
Yeah.
Because if you're looking for them, then you're noticing the absence of them, and then you're probably going to block it. So what I would say is just like now the topic of mechanism of synchronicity is in your awareness. So as you go throughout your day, oh, that could be a synchronicity. Oh, that could be a synchronicity. Oh, somebody dropped the pepper on the floor. I don't know what it means, but that could be a synchronicity, right?
And just milk it.
Just milk it. Cool?
Okay.
Awesome. Good stuff. Anybody else have any questions? I'm scanning, looking for some hands up. Don't see any hands. Oh, Tony says yes. Where are you at, Tony? Hey, go ahead, Tony. You can unmute yourself.
Hi, I don't see a hand here, but nonetheless, yeah, I'm wondering if you can help me break this down and get more clarity, because I want a certain job, and synchronicities happen. I mean, that job isn't even really available, but because of some synchronicities, I was told the person in charge of hiring always has their eyes open. So synchronicities and excitement led me to write a letter. Anyway, so there's a job that I want for a variety of reasons. Some of them are because it would be super fun. And then some of them are, well, I don't have a job, and I need a job to have the money, to have the freedom and the lifestyle that I want.
Yeah, you got to drop all that, because that's all half.
So
that's all
yeah, because
synchronicity is going to take.
Right. I'm seeing that this is my created avenue to having what I want. So, but then again, it would be super fun to be involved with this organization as well. So if money wasn't in the picture, would I still want to be involved with that organization in the sense of working for them? I don't know. I think I'd want to do something bigger. Anyway, I'm thinking out loud. But in terms of the homework, so do I just think about why I want a job? Because I want a job. I don't have a job. I want a job to have money to pay my rent.
So what's at the top of your manifestation list? Is it a job, or is it to pay your rent?
It's a job, because I want some structure and purpose as well, and I want fun, and I want to be able to give, to people, uplift. And so there's a lot of reasons why I want a job as well. Like if I won the lottery, I would still do something.
Yeah. So go with the job. Pre-pave the job. And I mean, you can do it for more than one thing if you want, right? So do it for the job for the sake of having the job. Do it for again, I don't want to tell you guys to manifest the finances, but pre-pave the lifestyle of how you want your lifestyle to feel, right? If you had that steady flow of income. So don't try to manifest the income, manifest the lifestyle.
Okay. So think about the income. I mean, think about the lifestyle, and then choose it would be, hey, I'm choosing this lifestyle. I just stated as a declaration.
This is what I'm choosing. This is what the mechanism of synchronicity is going to paint on my canvas. I'm not hoping for it, because hoping means you're trusting and waiting for something else to make it happen. You're choosing. This is my lifestyle. It's on its way. The mechanism of synchronicity is painting it, and I'm going to notice all the little tidbits of synchronicity on that journey.
Okay, keep embodying what it would feel like to have that lifestyle, get in the receiving mode, and acknowledge all the synchronicities, and even the ones that don't seem to be connected.
The biggest chunk of that triangle that you guys are going to have to work on is getting in that receiving mode. That's the most challenging part for most people, because we always jump into action.
But action is okay if it feels really fun.
Absolutely.
Like me writing that letter felt so fun, and so many off the wall synchronicities led to that moment. That was never my desire or intention.
The key thing to ask is this vibrationally productive? So does it feel good? Does it feel exciting? And is it vibrationally productive?
What do you mean by vibrationally productive?
Does it feel like effort? Am I trying to accomplish? Or does this just help me feel really good?
Okay.
Cool?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, I saw Singh really asked really quick what pre-paving was. Pre-paving is just jumping to a point where your manifestation's already happened and then journaling about it in as much detail as possible. Right? So if you're working on a relationship, you would write about what it feels like to be with that person, what they look like, how they make you feel, what the life is like living with that person. And again, the more detailed you get into, the better. And the key thing is speak in present tense. Sound good? Perfect. Okay, and then I saw Fran had a question. Okay, so Mitesh, really quick on the pre-paving says, how detailed do you need to be? Keep getting as detailed as long as it feels good. If you're getting detailed and all of a sudden it starts to feel wobbly or create fears, take a step back and then you're gonna wanna work through those fears before you get more detailed again. Go ahead, Fran.
Hey Nick, hey everybody.
Hey, how you doing?
So this entire call is like a synchronicity for me because for the last 2 weeks, I've kind of been working on this same thing because I realized that when if I get a sale in my Etsy store, it means nothing to me. Actually, I feel like high vibe and I dip down a little bit low vibe. But if I think about I've got a new person who's going to experience my product, or I'm creating a membership and I have like this new person who's going to be in it, or I'm going to work my way up to like being able to pay the daycare fees. Like I get excited about that. Like I made $100 one time, like one off $100. And I was like, the first thought was, okay, $100. But then I thought, oh, this is this is paying for Nick this month. And that made me like so happy. And so I'm like, okay, exchange the idea of money for what the money's gonna buy. So I've been working on that all this month. So I'm like, this is perfect that we're having this conversation. However, I am feeling very uncomfortable right now. Like I've had too much coffee, or because this whole conversation, I've had like palpitations because, and now it's just topped off when you told us what the homework is, because this homework is making me very nervous. Mostly because what I desire is freedom. I'm a medical doctor, but the type of job I have now, I'm sitting at this desk all day long, and I have a 2-hour commute. So I'm away from home for 11 hours a day. I have toddlers who are like twins, and I really want to be there with them. January, I started a business. I'm like full of great ideas. I have like ideas all the time, like because I'm driving a lot and I'm driving and some pops in my head, I'll grab like a notepad and make a sticky note. So I'm saying all this to say, my question to you is, can we sort of like mess ourselves up? Like, can we do harm to, I feel like I'm all over the place, but
your inner being would never, you don't have to compromise. Your inner being will never make something worse. It's always only going to move you forward.
So I believe that my husband is in medical school. He's in his last year, and he finishes in June. And I feel like I'm pumping the brakes on my business until June, because once he finishes and he starts making money, he can get health insurance. Like, I'm going to go ahead, right?
Yeah.
And so until then, I'm pumping the brakes. But let me show you what happens. So I had to start bringing this binder. This binder is full of the sticky notes that I come up with all the time, because I'm so like relaxed and happy about this future, and ideas are popping, but I'm suppressing them because I'm like, not yet. So I put them in this freaking binder and I work on them little by little on the weekends, and not very much on company time, but on my lunch breaks. And so if we, like, these are nudges from the universe of like, this is what you can do and this is what your business is going to be. If we ignore that, like I'm having to ignore those right now. It's hard, but does that do anything like with our triangle? Does that?
No, they don't have an expiry date, right? So
Okay.
when you match the vibration of something As long as you're matched to the vibration of it, then it's got to come into your reality.
Okay.
So like, think of AM/FM radio. Assuming AM/FM radio stations are there all the time, then as long as you're tuned into that station, you're going to hear it. So if you tune off, if you tune away from a station for a couple of months, you can always tune back to it.
Okay. I think this might be like religious conditioning, you know, how they're like, don't quench the Holy Spirit, or like, if you don't act on the idea, they're going to, it's going to go to somebody else. And I'm like,
no, you can't mess it up. And a lot of people have this belief that like, actually something I cleared with somebody a few days ago was this belief of, I can't have it all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I can't have it all. Bullshit. You absolutely can't have it all. Right?
Yeah.
Just get your belief systems in check. Right? Or another belief is, I need to compromise in order to get what I want. That's not true either. And, you heard the Maserati story earlier. I can guarantee you right now there's a way for you to be able to work on all your projects and everything else to work out at the same time too.
I feel like if I do this homework, I'm going to get fired. That's why I got nervous. I was like, holy crap, this is it. Like, they're just going to come in here and be like, you know what? And then I'm going to do the stuff in a binder and everything's going to be fine. But I'm like, no, 6 more months, not even 6. It's not even December yet.
That's okay. Your inner being is not going to push you into something that isn't right for you.
Okay.
Okay. I would spend some time journaling on the fears, journal on what comes up, and then maybe we can tackle some of them in the office hours call next week.
Sounds awesome. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
I feel better.
Good. What a great discussion. This has been such a good call. Thanks everybody for showing up. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Good luck. Have fun. Post lots in the Facebook group. Post your questions. Post some selfie videos. Share your experiences. Share the synchronicities you experience. We're in like mechanism of synchronicity mode. I encourage you guys, every single synchronicity you experience, even if it's tiny and meaningless, share it, because the more synchronicities we're going to be experiencing, I think that's going to ramp things up even more. So again, thanks for tuning in. Great call. And we'll see some of you guys on the call again later today. And for the rest of you guys, see you in the Facebook group. Bye for now.